In preparation for Alberta's centennial year, visitor services at the Alberta Legislature contacted Anne Hill. The Queen was coming for the province's centennial, they said, and the legislature wanted authentic period dress for its interpretive staff. Here's the story of the research, design, and construction of 15 1905 period costumes. Anne's research begins with online databases. This is the City of Edmonton Digital Archives, and these photos, for instance, are evocative of the clothing women wore on a day-to-day basis 100 years ago. This is the look that visitor services wanted to achieve. A recent exhibit of dress from the period was an invaluable tool to get a better sense of the design and craft of clothing construction at the time. The quality and detail of this work is self-evident. This lovely gown was worn by Annie Secord. She attended the inaugural ball in 1905, and it's the only costume that survives from that historic night in Edmonton. Contained within these clothes is the memory of a culture of designers and seamstresses, details, materials, and sewing techniques no longer used in our time. For more information about authentic costume patterns from different eras, these websites are useful. The next phase of research was a trip to the library. The Banff Centre has an outstanding theatre arts program, and costume designers from far and wide have come here to do research in the Paul Fleck Library, which, over the decades, has built up a comprehensive collection of craft-related books on costume construction, patterns, renderings, and design. Of particular interest to Anne are the many books related to the Edwardian era. With all the research done, Anne's next task was to create the drawings for the 1905 costumes.
My drawings include an enormous amount of detail from the Edwardian period, from the lace down to the gored panels of the skirt that have braid, lace down the front, tassels, stand-up collar, and lace on the sleeves all create the Edwardian period look. I used a mixture of drafted pattern pieces and patterns from historic sources. Pinning all the pattern pieces together. Electric shears were used to cut all the pattern pieces. This saved me an enormous amount of time, as there were so many pattern pieces to cut. The skirt is made up of gored pieces. Laid out, they create a triangular shape. Here is the waistband to go with the pattern skirt. I searched far and wide to find braid to match the skirt. This is the trim I used to put on the skirt. The multicolored braid matches the skirt wonderfully. I added ribbon and lace to recreate the period. Laid on top of the braid, the lace and the ribbon adds to the trim of the skirt. All the pieces were laid together and sewn together to create the trim. Cotton lining was used for the skirts. Cotton requires lots and lots of ironing. And lifting and turning the skirts over required careful handling to ensure that the costume would maintain its shape. Working on the waistband required lots of pinning to hold it in place. Hand stitching was used to sew in the waistband. The seamstresses at this time did lots of hand sewing, and to make these costumes, I sewed the waistband by hand with needle, thread, and thimble. The men's shirt had a detachable collar, all within the Edwardian period. Just undo the center front buttons and voila, the collar comes off. A snap closure was placed at center front. That was a modification that was added to the costume. I constructed most of the costumes from scratch, but where I could, I bought individual items like this men's cap. The men's pants have many modified features on them. One of them is the detachable cuff, which snaps along the side seam very easily up and down. As I roll the inside of the cuff out, there are 3 strips of Velcro to move the cuff up and down for length. This was a modification I developed for the men's pants. The Edwardian men's pants had a front button closure. And buttons were also used for the suspenders. And a modified feature I added was an elasticized waistband. The vest for the men is a classic men's vest with a chain attached to the center button and into the pocket, creating a very elegant Edwardian look. Flipping the vest over, you can see the tie with the buckle to adjust for size. The women's costume includes the straw boater hat. The straw boater hat was a vital part of creating this costume, which was modified by Velcro. The band is detachable, and voila, it opens up and comes off. And can reattach to the back, to the Velcro closure. And off it comes again. And take a look at that, how easy it is to take on and off, and creating a whole new look for the straw boater hat. The red ribbon band matches the red skirt. Now the red skirt has a wonderful trim on it, like Irish lace. Another modification is the detachable dust ruffle. It is attached with Velcro along the bottom of the skirt. Detaching the dust ruffle can lengthen or shorten the skirt. You can lengthen it by 4 inches or more. And here, reattach, there it is, 4 extra inches in length. The dust ruffle can be reattached to make a shorter skirt. The waistband at center back has a Velcro closure as well. And opening it up widens the waistband, and reattaching the Velcro at center back brings it back, narrows the waist. You can widen or narrow the waist with Velcro. Reattaching the Velcro, I can bring in the waistband. There it is. Wider or narrower. all the way back to center back. And as you can see, there is a nice pleat at center back. The pleat at center back complements the Edwardian style skirt. Another modification that I made for the costumes was the belts. The belts in navy and tan have a unique modification. Opening up at the back, the Velcro closure allows for the wider waist or the narrower waist. And opening it up the Velcro widens the belt. Closing the belt narrows the belt. The trim on the blue skirt I had to make from scratch with ribbon and lace sewn together. I had to find the lace and ribbon at the store, bringing it all together to create the blue skirt. The women's shirtwaist has a stand-up collar with lace all around the front of the shirtwaist, has a nice scalloped edge, complementing the shirtwaist style for the period. The print on the cotton complements the style. Buttons were down, center back. Along the front is a casing to gather the front of the shirtwaist, creating a lot of fullness. Inside the casing is a ribbon to gather the fullness, and down center back is a button closure. The lace on the cuff matches the lace on the stand-up collar, all coordinating and creating an elegant look. From start to finish, it took me 6 months to complete the 15 costumes. It seemed an impossible task, but yet it was all done on time.
The 1905 costumes will be worn by interpreters at the Alberta Legislature long after the Queen has departed. You can see that the colors of the costumes complement the marble and wood interior at the Legislature. The costumes are designed to be durable, to take the wear and tear of constant use. And typical of the period, they're washable. They can also be dry cleaned. The costume modifications are easily adjusted to fit the short and the tall, the small and the large. The 1905 costumes, because they're authentic to the period, are heavier than modern wear, but they're comfortable.